Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today at Broadway Elementary in Denison. And I want to thank Superintendent Veronik and Brent Larson for hosting us today. We really appreciate your help in putting this together. I am also delighted to welcome a very special guest to our state, U.S. Secretary of Education Linda McMahon, as she continues her 50-state tour visiting schools all across our country. Secretary McMahon is a champion for students and families, and she never wavers in her commitment to fostering excellence, expanding choice, and empowering states who know best how to serve their students. I'm proud to say that Iowa's education priorities are very well aligned with that vision. We've expanded educational freedom so parents can choose what's best for their children because no single model works for every child. We've also grown our investment in public schools, strengthened accountability metrics, enhanced work-based learning opportunities, and trained teachers in the science of reading. And today, I'm proud to say we're seeing the results, and they are truly remarkable. In just the last year, 10th grade science proficiency has gone up 7 percentage points. Third grade literacy has gone up 11 percentage points, and chronic absenteeism has fallen nearly 10 percentage points. And since 2023, participation in work-based learning has increased by 76%. Wow. The story at Broadway Elementary is especially inspiring. Here, literacy grew from 65% to 72% in just 1 year. That's a 7% increase, and that number continues to rise. It shows the power of evidence-based instruction and the school district's commitment to it. All the K through 5th grade teachers in Denison are completing their second year of LETRS training in the science of reading and have fully embraced this approach. Our progress also says a lot about Iowa, about the dedication of our teachers and administrators, their collaboration with the Iowa Department of Education, and our families' engagement in student success. But these improvements shouldn't be limited to the state level. And that's why I really appreciate that Secretary McMahon and her team are focused on supporting the right work like the science of reading and work-based learning, which truly makes a difference for our students. Only 3 months ago, their Comprehensive State Literacy Development Grant enabled us to expand literacy programming even further, including right here in Denison. And now with Iowa's participation in the new federal education tax credit that's beginning next year, we can further expand educational options. And these are just a few of the ways that this administration is empowering Iowa to improve student outcomes. The Secretary believes, like I do, that states are best positioned to serve families, and we're committed to reducing barriers that stand in the way. And that's why I am so pleased to host Secretary McMahon here today, not only to showcase Broadway's success story, but to open the door to even greater opportunities. And now I would like to invite the Secretary to the podium. Madam Secretary.
Thank you so much, Governor. It's so fun being here. I just was, with this group, we were back and we were talking and just visiting, and they were telling me how they ran for student council, and it was exciting, and they were, some of them are a little hesitant to go to middle school next year, but I know they're all going to just excel wherever they go because this is a great group of students. So Governor Reynolds, thank you so much for your gracious introduction and for having me here today. To visit with the Denison Monarchs. This is pretty exciting. As some of you know, President Trump told me that I would succeed as the Secretary of Education when I had worked myself out of a job. It's a little bit different job description when you take on a new role. But his vision isn't about me or one position. It's about you. It's about the students. It's about what's going on here. It's breaking up the education bureaucracy in Washington, D.C., a system that we found that enriches adults while stifling progress for students, and returning responsibility for educating children to the states to unleash a new era of excellence. Over the past few months, I've visited dozens of states, spotlighting how innovation can flourish when decisions are made locally by leaders who know their students best. As Governor Reynolds illustrated, Iowa is living proof of this. While National English Language Arts proficiency for third graders stagnated or declined nationally last year, Iowa's jumped by double digits, up 11 points in just 1 year. That's really commendable, Governor. Science proficiency in your schools rose across all tested grades, rebounding significantly since pandemic losses. And nearly 56% of Iowa schools rank in the top 3 performance categories on state assessments, which is up 46% from last year. And that is remarkable. And you know, how'd you do that? And it's pretty simple. If you really boil it down, leaders like Governor Reynolds and Director Snow identified the needs of their state and put proven solutions into action, such as personalized reading plans and evidence-based literacy instruction, along with the science of reading. And I've been witnessing that firsthand this morning in several different classrooms. You didn't just envision change, you didn't just talk about it, you did it. And that's why today we have exciting news. I am thrilled to announce that Iowa is leading the nation as the first state approved for the Returning Education to the States waiver, a groundbreaking first step that gives state leaders more control over federal education dollars. Iowa now has the flexibility to cut paperwork and simplify 100% of state activities funding streams. It can invest in proven strategies to build a world-class teacher pipeline, close achievement gaps, and open post-secondary opportunities to prepare for a great career. Nearly $8 million over 4 years will break free from bureaucracy at the state and local levels and instead focus directly on supporting students who deserve it. Less than 2 months after we encouraged states to act, Iowa was the first in the nation to officially apply for this waiver after first laying out its innovative vision in the spring of 2025. And just this week, Governor Reynolds continued her commitment to education freedom by announcing Iowa's participation in a new federal education freedom tax credit program, which she mentioned, which will start in 2027. This is a momentous step to break away from top-down mandates and expand school choice. And I know how hard Governor Reynolds worked for school choice over 2 terms, really battling to get it through, but she did it. This is a way to allow families to tailor their child's education to what best suits them. Time and time again, Governor Reynolds and Director Snow have proven that they put Iowa students first. Thank you for setting a standard of leadership that inspires the entire nation. And there's more good news. Iowa has also been approved as an EdFlex state, which allows them to grant districts waivers from certain federal requirements without first having to submit requirements to the department. This approval cuts through federal red tape, eases compliance burdens for districts, and empowers them to implement strategies that best meet the needs of their students. Because, as the governor said, it's not one size fits all for education. And this is just the beginning. I'd also like to thank Governor Reynolds, Director Snow, and their teams for bringing concerns from district leaders about the reporting burdens they face to federal programs, because if we don't hear and we don't know, we can't make change. We are committed to reviewing all reporting requirements and compliance burdens across the Department of Education. We know that one-size-all, as I mentioned, mandates fail. States should lead, and Washington should support their sound approaches and get out of the way. That's why the Trump administration is granting Iowa this flexibility, and we hope that as we partner with congressional leaders to return education to the states, we can work with them to expand these opportunities for states and local leaders to run their education systems. From building the first electronic digital computer to revolutionizing agriculture with hybrid corn, Iowa students have a proud legacy for problem solving. And now we need to carry that tradition forward. When solutions are designed for students, the Trump administration stands ready to help to ensure their success. With greater freedom and flexibility to develop effective educational practices for students, schools become places where potential roars to life, And what I saw here was kids having fun, enjoying being in the classroom, interacting with each others, teachers, being probative with their questions that are causing them to think. And I was watching one teacher in a classroom. She asked a question. Students started answering. This was a small table of kind of one-on-one instruction. And she didn't let the students answer right away. She says, no, 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 talk to your neighbor. Discuss this. Tell me what each of you are thinking. And then she came back to get their response. I think there was like this guy Socrates that did a lot of stuff like that. So it was kind of fun really watching that in the classroom. Inside these walls, students develop strength and skills through the right teaching and support, preparing to step forward as monarch lions, bold, fearless, and ready to conquer new horizons. It's my honor to turn the floor back to your outstanding governor, my friend, who will share more about this exciting waiver. And thank you again, Governor, for having me here today, and I appreciate being welcomed to the Hawkeye State.
Well, thank you, Secretary McMahon, and thank you for placing your faith in Iowa to lead the nation in this important effort. Thanks for being here today. It was a lot of fun to be in the classroom and to see the engagement and the fun. When kids are having fun learning, they're learning, and we saw that in every room that we were in. So thank you for being here. We are proud to be the first state to submit a unified allocation plan. We're excited to be approved for this very first step, and we're confident that we can do even more. By reallocating compliance resources, Iowa will begin shifting nearly $8 million and thousands of hours of staff time from bureaucracy to actually putting that expertise and those resources in the classroom. And this means greater flexibility to strengthen the teacher pipeline, narrow student achievement gaps, and really continue our work to expand evidence-based instruction in both math and reading. And most importantly, it means moving the dial toward the return of education to the states. We know that the U.S. Department of Education can only accomplish so much under its existing authorities, and we stand ready to support you in advocating to Congress for greater flexibilities, and I can guarantee you we'll demonstrate that it is the right thing to do. So to that end, I want to thank you for your commitment to continued progress, especially as it relates to reporting requirements. By working together to streamline reporting, we can free up resources for the classroom that are currently tied up in duplicative data collection. Because the more red tape that we cut from the federal level, the more Iowa can increase education quality. And really to elaborate on what today's announcement means for our educators and for our families and the students that they serve, I'd like to recognize our outstanding director of the Iowa Department of Education, Mackenzie Snow. Before she came to Iowa, Director Snow's record in Virginia, New Hampshire, the U.S. Department of Education, and the White House won her praise from policymakers nationwide. And there's just nobody else that's better to share more about the impact of this waiver than Director Snow, and we're very fortunate to have her leading the Department of Education. Her and her team. She's got an incredible team. Director?
Thank you, Governor Reynolds, for your strong leadership and your unwavering commitment to Iowa's children. As Governor Reynolds shared, the remarkable statewide successes that have positioned Iowa to help lead the nation with this first-of-its-kind waiver are only made possible through the hard work of our exceptional students, teachers, families, and communities. And thank you, Secretary McMahon, for your dedication and work to empower innovative states like Iowa with the flexibility our state and local leaders need to continue to accelerate student learning. Work that now empowers Iowa to better align federal resources to our state and local education priorities, to bolster school improvement efforts informed by assessment and accountability, and to continue to advance our school district's focus on best serving students most in need of support. Beginning 2 years ago, we articulated Iowa's bold vision for education reform, built upon supporting a strong teacher pipeline through recruitment, retention, and development, strengthening evidence-based reading and math instruction, narrowing and closing achievement gaps through accountability and support, empowering students with multiple pathways to post-secondary success, and promoting vibrant, safe, and healthy learning environments. Secretary McMahon shares in this vision, making early literacy a top priority for the U.S. Department of Education. Landmark state legislation enacted in 2024 is helping make evidence-based literacy instruction a reality for every child in every Iowa classroom. And schools like Broadway Elementary here in Denison show how this work changes lives. Broadway implements rigorous academic standards and high-quality instructional materials with fidelity. They prioritize strong intervention structures, benefit from statewide rigorous professional learning, engage K-6 students in Iowa's intelligent, personalized tutoring, and foster partnerships with families. And they recently received a school district grant through Iowa's $24 million Comprehensive State Literacy Development Grant awarded by the U.S. Department of Education. And now, through Iowa's historic Math Counts Acts, these transformational structures will deliver for students across the state in math, too. As both Governor Reynolds and Secretary McMahon stated, Iowa is achieving remarkable results. Early literacy is improving, science proficiency is improving, overall school performance is improving, schools in need of support are improving, work-based learning is growing, and our teacher pipeline is strengthening. And the department and Iowa's districts and schools are well positioned to employ the improved flexibility and accountability proposed in our Unified Allocation Plan. And today, recognizing these results, the U.S. Department of Education is taking important steps to empower state leaders to focus 100% of federal, state-level resources on efforts that have the greatest impact on student achievement and on student growth. These first steps also provide targeted local flexibilities in the Elementary and Secondary Education Act's Title I Part A, Title I Part D, and Title IV Part A programs. These programs focus on meeting the needs of students with low-income backgrounds and supporting all students in meeting high expectations. They focus on supporting students cared for outside of a traditional home setting and justice-connected youth, and they focus on student support and academic enrichment. Finally, to further redirect critical resources from compliance back to the classroom, the U.S. Department of Education is committing to aligning and modernizing programmatic and fiscal reporting. Once again, informed by the expertise of Iowans, our work will benefit local education leaders here and across the nation by right-sizing administrative workloads while maintaining strong transparency and accountability. Each of these steps forward are key components of Iowa's Comprehensive Unified Allocation Plan. And we look forward to continuing to partner with the U.S. Department of Education to grow the local flexibilities announced today, reflecting our collective confidence in local education leaders. Let's be clear, today's recognition and approval didn't just happen. It happened because of the hard work of Iowa's students, teachers, and families, supported by our dedicated public servants and in partnership with the U.S. Department of Education. And the success of these efforts and Iowa's first in the nation waiver rely upon them. Shaped by robust stakeholder feedback and ongoing consultation, Iowa's Unified Allocation Plan reflects deliberate, multi-year efforts aligning systems and redirecting capacity to ensuring high expectations for every child, providing all students what they need to realize their bright futures. Capacity to advance evidence-based instruction and career-connected learning, capacity to support teachers in doing their best work, and finally, capacity to strengthen accountability for what matters most, accelerating learning. Today, we begin aligning federal programs to what's working here in Iowa, expanding local flexibility for how districts can maximize federal funds to best support students most in need, and streamlining federal reporting and compliance processes. It's an honor to help represent this important work, and we are proud to be the first state in the nation to help forge this path forward, concentrated on the success of all learners. But Iowa should not be the last. Alongside the U.S. Department of Education, we look forward to working with our colleagues across the nation in refocusing federal resources on their intended purpose, improving student outcomes. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Director Snow, and truly, thank you for your incredible leadership at the Department of Education. We are truly blessed to have your leadership and have you serving in that capacity with your team. And with that, I think we'll open it up to questions.
For any of you, I'm just wondering if you could walk us through a little bit more this money beforehand. What were some of the barriers you were brushing up against? Where was that money being directed? And tangibly, does the state decide now which districts get to use this money and how they use it? Do you have full flexibility, or are there targeted areas you have to use this money?
I'm going to let Director Snow answer that question. She alluded to a lot of it in her remarks, but we can answer that specific question.
Happy to. So there are three main components that we're excited to share today. The first is the state-level block grant for 100% of state activities dollars. So, for example, you've heard a lot about evidence-based professional learning, and you've seen that here in action at Denison today. Iowa has used 8 different funding sources, 6 of which are federal funding sources, to provide this intensive evidence-based professional learning statewide. Through this state-level block grant, we'll be able to continue to support that statewide professional learning through a single funding source. We've also seen Iowa's proportion of students who are English learners increase 40% in the last decade, and we are focused on ensuring that all teachers are prepared to support their needs through differentiation and differentiated instruction. Through this state-level block grant, we are also able to offer new professional learning to empower all teachers statewide to best serve students who are English learners that we look forward to rolling out in the coming months. The second main component is around targeted local flexibilities, and those are observed in 3 main programs: Title I Part A, Title I Part D, and Title IV Part A. An example of that is Title I Part A carryover funds, for example. You know that across our state, about 66% of districts serve fewer than 1,000 students. And our smallest Title I allocation, which is the largest federal funding source in ESEA, is about $21,000. So the carryover allows districts, especially rural districts, to be able to purposefully plan to make significant investments in things like high-quality instructional materials, high-dose tutoring, both of which you've seen here in Denison today. And then the final component is around streamlining and modernizing our fiscal and programmatic reporting and compliance work. And that is critical to ensure that we continue to focus our resources on the classroom and that we right-size compliance while maintaining high levels of transparency and accountability. That is the main driver of the identified about $29 million in excess compliance investment that Iowa has estimated across our state agency and across districts in our state.
Lorena Lopez with La Prensa Hispanic newspaper and Denison Free Press. I have a specific question for you, Secretary McMahon. What made you choose Denison, Iowa?
Actually, I wanted to come to Iowa, and I reached out, to the governor's office, and she, in collaboration with Director Snow, decided what school would be most exemplary for me to come and to see all the different levels and the achievements that are happening here. And so I gladly came at her direction, and because I'm a bureaucrat from Washington. I don't know the local schools, the local teachers, the local programs, and that's the whole point of it, because it is at the local level that the governors, the directors, the teachers, the parents in the communities really are the ones who should be in control of their children's education. And so to come today and be here is just a wonderful thing. I wanted to get back to, just one sec, to a question that you asked. Let me just give you a little bit of example about what this means to how much money is actually going to be able to go different than complying with federal regulations. So the total amount of the grant, the block grant that's coming in, is about $9.5 million. If we were operating under the old rules, it would take, according to the figures that were done in the state, about $8 million to comply with the regulations of this $9.5 million grant. So in essence, you'd get about $1.5 million to go to the schools. With this new waiver, that $8 million will go to the schools. And that's a big number to consider.
So nationally, what are these grants going to look like? With Iowa Universal Iowa being used as kind of a template for moving forward?
Well, speaking as a governor, yes, it will be. And we're proud to be able to demonstrate how this can be done. We're really honored to play that role. And that's what we do. We look at what other states have done. We look at what they've submitted. We look at what we need in our state and how we can adjust to meet the needs of each individual state, because every school district, every state is, to your point, Secretary, is different.
Yes.
And this will allow them to tailor it to what their needs are in the state. Do you have something to add to
Yeah,
that?
and if you haven't noticed, governors are competitive. And, but really.
In a good way.
In a very good way, because if we look at what innovations have happened in different states as we look to the science of reading, and which is adopted here in the state of Iowa as well, and seen those results. But that was really begun in other states and showing success. So other governors will take some of that program, improve it when they get it to their state, work on it in a different way. Directors like, well, there she is.
And we switched.
Director, trying to mess me up here. Like Director Snow will take it and look at it and say, okay, how do we do this? How do we bring our teachers in? How do we, retain them? How do we provide the right kind of training for them so that they can go forward, and teach, these new programs? And so that's innovation at the state level that does not come from Washington, D.C., and I applaud our governors and our directors working with, the local school districts, the teachers, and parents to understand what their needs are and to get the bureaucracy of Washington out of the way so that the money goes to the students and we'll see the improvements like we've seen here.
Yeah, so the Iowa Department of Education released a report earlier this week that showed only 1% of teaching positions in the state are unfilled, which is below the national average. What do you think this says about the state of teaching in Iowa?
I'm happy to talk about the data released in our teacher pipeline report. We are excited to share that we've seen about a third reduction in the teacher vacancies represented from last year that have been reported by Iowa districts. And you'll also note that our teacher vacancy rate is about 1%. The national vacancy rate's about 3%, 3 times higher than that of Iowa's. But of course, we need to have a great teacher with every child in every classroom in Iowa. And we continue to identify special education teaching positions as the greatest vacancy area, endorsement area in our state, consistent with national trends. And Governor Reynolds has deployed a number of innovative solutions like the teacher and para-registered apprenticeship program to support specific endorsement areas and to support specific geographies as we continue to reinforce our teacher pipeline.
And with that program, the teacher para and registered apprenticeship program, we actually have about 600 students that are in the pipeline that will become teachers. And part of that program, they teach in Iowa for 5 years. So we really, in addition to all the other things that Director Snow talked about, we're really on a good, I think, pathway to really meet the need and to get excellence in every single classroom, specific, and especially in specific areas.
Yeah, reporting here in Western Iowa, you both are champions of school choice. What I hear a lot though from rural districts is the concern that public schools will be left behind. I don't know what if
Yeah.
you'd like to make that.
Yeah, it's just the opposite. It strengthens education. And regardless of the options that we have with families, which we shouldn't be afraid of that, it makes us all better, and families know best, where their child can get the education that they deserve. And the lion's share, what is it, 94%? About 90? Yeah.
No, you're correct.
94% of students are going to go to a public school. So there's no way that we're not going to continue to enhance and work with our public schools to make them the best that they can be. And so it's just a false narrative, I believe, that it raises all boats. It makes us all more competitive, and we'll get the results that we need to do. But our public schools are doing excellent, and that's why we're here, by the way. I couldn't pick a better proof of concept with the initiatives that Dr. Snow and the legislature has put in place, with what Secretary Mann is making available today with the waiver to really take what we've done and the good work that you guys have done here and continue to build on that. So it kind of is a proof of concept of what's possible when you really align all of the metrics, make accountability a part of it, align it to our state priorities, and then, not spend so much time on compliance and paperwork and take that time and those resources and that expertise that these educators have and get them in front of our kids. And we're going to continue to see phenomenal results. This is just the beginning. I am so encouraged. I can't wait to get back and start talking about what we've seen here today and what's possible moving forward. And it's incredible.
Okay, thank you all for coming. Appreciate your time.
May I ask the last question, one more question to Governor, please? Governor, what you saw today in Broadway Elementary School, that the school is going to benefit from that?
The science of reading, the number of educators that have been trained in the science of reading, work-based learning, STEM best, the kids, can I let the secretary, I see it every day, she kind of hit on it. Do you want to talk about what, you said a little bit earlier, but what you saw today?
Well, and you probably know this relative to this school, but I was incredibly impressed also with, the bilingual aspect of courses being taught in English and in Spanish, kids trading classrooms and what they, had learned in English, they learned in Spanish and vice versa. It takes a little different area of your brain, to process a different language. So not only are you enhancing, the use of a different language, and my understanding is, if I remember correctly, by the time they're through 8th grade, they are absolutely, totally bilingual. So it's not just speaking, but it's understanding concepts and all of that. And it's just amazing. You don't see that, very often. So this is an incredibly innovative school, and the different programs. I was incredibly impressed that I have forgotten. I can't remember the name of the program of the one-on-one instruction.
Amira?
And, that's something I've seen in other schools. That I have seen in other schools, but not all schools are adopting it. Is when a student is showing perhaps that they're a little behind, they're giving one-on-one instruction, or a student that's a little ahead, they can advance at a different rate. The teacher sees the report that is coming in from that computer and the work that that student is doing, and then can supplement it with one-on-one instruction. These are innovations that are just raising that bar very, very quickly, and I really applaud Director Snow and the teaching and Governor Reynolds for being supportive of all of these efforts.
And how about these students that have done an incredible job of standing up here this whole time? You did great. You did great. Thank you.